Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the show where we dissect down all the Premier League's weekend action and we classify it into the good, the bad, and the ugly, the main talking points of the weekend. Let's get into this. First of all, let's go through the results. Huge win for Arsenal at Leicester there, the lunchtime kickoff on Saturday. Leicester nil, Arsenal 2. Burnley 3, Brentford 1. Also a shock as far as I'm concerned. I thought Brentford would have ran out winners there, especially with Burnley's recent form. Liverpool 2, Brighton 2. Liverpool slip up after a 2-goal head start, and we're lucky to get the draw in the end, looking at how the game panned out. Man City nil, Crystal Palace 2, the biggest shock of the weekend, of course. Newcastle nil, Chelsea 3. Watford nil, Southampton 1. Tottenham nil, Man United 3. Going into Sunday, Norwich 1, Leeds 2, and Aston Villa 1, West Ham 4. Where do we begin with this? Let's start with the good. Arsenal looking very solid. Ramsdale looking like an excellent signing now. Smith Rowe unbelievable. Saka unbelievable. So the project and the plan, Edu and Arteta, continues. Arsenal starting to really show a bit of form now, putting together a string of results, and fair play to them. They've come through a really sticky dark patch there where Arteta was nearly out of a job, but they've turned it around. So we dropped them into the good this week with a big win away to Leicester. Palace under Vieira looking solid, massive win against City. Um, the defender getting sent off there, Laporte, um, was a massive shock for them, but not much. They didn't have much to do then. So Palace ran out 2-0 winners. Definitely the upset of the weekend, without a doubt. Chelsea looking very dominant again, even with key players like Werner and Lukaku missing. Had great patience at Newcastle. Took them 60 minutes nearly to break it down, but once they broke it down and the floodgates open, ran out 3-0 winners pretty easy. Reece James really looking well in that position, and also a penalty from Jorginho. So super stuff from Chelsea. And they increased the gap. So the gap is now 3 points with Liverpool slipping up. Brighton, let's get on to that. Brighton with a huge comeback at Anfield and unlucky not to win. I was at the game myself, but Liverpool started off really strong with the press, went 2 goals up, but then all of a sudden became very lackluster. Number of players vacating their positions and stuff like that. Number of players who came on because of injury and for changes, just didn't put in a shift, just weren't at the races. And in the end, very lucky. Brighton had a goal disallowed. We also had a goal or two disallowed. But Brighton looked really strong in that second half, and Potter looked you know, like he had worked us out. A guy with great admiration on this show for Graham Potter, an absolutely super manager. United beat Spurs, which helps the situation with Ollie. But the real question is, can he survive? Is it a 3-game situation here for Ollie? That if he beats Atalanta and also was able to win the Manchester derby, will he survive, or have the Manchester board already decided and they just want to take the international break to install a new manager and release Ollie out of his position? That remains to be seen, but he's won the first one anyway and won it well. And we know at this stage now that Nuno has been sacked. So it really was El Sacco at the weekend. Ollie survives. Nuno is now unemployed. The bad. Leicester's hot and cold start to the season continues. At times they're absolutely brilliant and magical, and at times they just look so ordinary. So still a bit of work there for Brendan Rodgers to do in terms of fitting in some of those new signings and finding out a pattern of play. But certainly that was a massive win for Arsenal. City dropping points at home to Palace. Huge for them as the gap grows between themselves and Chelsea. What started out as a 4-horse race, you see the 4 contenders there behind me, is very quickly becoming 3 and could very quickly become 2 if Man City don't pull up their socks and get going. Dropping points at home to Palace. Never a good sign. Newcastle continued to struggle. Need to stay within touch and distance so they can get to January and get some signings in. I presume that would be the plan at this stage, to bring in a lot of new players in January so they can push on and remain in the Premier League. It kind of be unthinkable for them to actually get relegated at a time where they've been taken over by a multi-billionaire. It was a massive project planned for Newcastle. So yeah, that's a dodgy one. Liverpool are dropped into the bad this week, although they walked away with a point, but a point at home is never really enough, especially against Brighton, and that's no disrespect to Brighton, who play lovely football under Graham Potter. But I just think we were so lackluster Second half, we were just never in the game. Salah was never in the game. Henderson was never in the game. The midfield that we ended up with Ox and with Curtis, who had a very poor day at the office. Ox just looks really weak at times, you know what I mean? Gives up the ball so cheaply, gets taken off the ball. Bobby had a poor game. He was caught in possession a number of times, looking for the ref to look after him instead of getting on with the game. Really, really poor. Robbo didn't have a great game. So all round, most players on the pitch didn't have a good game, with the exception of Allison, who pulled off 3 or 4 absolute world-class saves, really to keep us in it. But the press game and the channels and all the stuff that we're renowned for, the quick breaks and stuff like that, Brighton were so organised with Potter, um, that we just couldn't figure it out. Salah had no space. Mane was closed down at times. Bobby was closed down really quickly. Every single time one of our target men picked up the ball, there seemed to be Brighton players around them all the time, pushing for the ball all the time. And in the end, they had a goal disallowed. And in the end, I think we have to be happy with a point, even though it feels like a defeat. Um, let's get on to the ugly. Nowhere else to start with the ugly, but with Tottenham. Shocking performance against United. Son had a chance all right with a goal, that was disallowed, and he had 1 or 2 other chances. But overall, United ran out easy winners in this 3-0. Spurs were so poor, it was unbelievable. And hence, we arrive at Monday morning. Nuno's gone. Talk is that Conte is on the way in, which creates a little bit of a headache potentially for United as well, who I assume, if they decide to pull the button and pull the trigger on Solskjaer, they would be looking to bring in Antonio Conte. Would be one of the names being linked with the club. So once again, Spurs have stole a march on United, and potentially if Conte comes in, and no doubt he will have them playing a decent brand of football, and he will have been promised signings. And I would be very surprised if Spurs don't shoot up the table. And with Conte, they could be a potential top 4 now this season. Also Villa slapped up at West Ham. Um, Slapped up by West Ham, I should say. West Ham winning 4-1 away to Villa. Villa again, so indifferent this season as well. I thought at the start of the season, I tipped Villa to be a top 6. I'm having to rethink that again now. The inconsistency that's there. They've brought in some fantastic players, but they're just flattering to deceive all the time. Ollie Watkins, Danny Ings had a fantastic start to the season, scoring a lot of goals and stuff like that. The boy Buendia, Leon Bailey's been in and out of the side, but they can't seem to have a settled starting 11. And also that back four seems all over the place at times. Um, so it's a difficult start. Dean Smith with a lot of work to do there. Has all the makings of a really, really good side. Just needs to figure out what he is doing. That rounds out this week's show, guys, of the good, the bad, and the ugly. As always, we appreciate you listening to the shows on the Dynamo Podcast Network on YouTube. You'll find audio versions of the show on Spotify. Let us know your comments down below on this week's action, or if you want to hit us up, you'll get us on Twitter at the _upper_ tier. You'll get us on Facebook and Instagram, the upper tier. And you'll also get us on YouTube, the Dynamo Podcast Network. Just look up the playlist, the upper tier. You'll also find mountains of fantastic content on there. If you're into horror, on the slab. If you're into retro movies, retrotainments there. You'll find, if you're a Liverpool fan, the Shankly Sessions is part of the upper tier, which covers football all week long. Some fantastic interviews with guests and League of Ireland legends of the past. You'll find Ian's on there with the Chelsea Roar now. Dynamo's dozen, which gives you a blend of literally everything. We got the 4 podmen there for pro wrestling. So everything is covered. Carl is on there. King Woe's Court, delving into Irish metal music. If that is your thing, get on there. Give it a like, give it a share. Let's grow this community. We have something there for everyone. Till next time, I'm your host, Niall Hogan, and this has been the good, the bad, and the ugly.